Okay. I want to start out with a very simple question. So let's do a raise of hands, okay? Who wants to marry me? What's so funny, guys? So those of you who raised your hands, I was not saying who would want to marry me, actually who wants to marry me right now, right here. Still any hands? Right, that's okay, well, let me then tell you, instead of asking you, you don't want to marry me. And I'll give you the reason. Because you don't know me. I just came up walking on stage. You don't know me. You don't know what kind of person I'm like. And you, of course, don't want to marry someone that you don't know. That makes perfect sense, right? My name is Vincent. I'm the founder of Magnet.me, and which is a careers network for students and graduate employers. And I started out with that in university. But let me just ask you a different question then. Who of you ever booked an hotel room or an Airbnb without seeing the photos first? Well, neither have I. And that is because we want to know what we're getting into before we do something, even if it is for one night. However, every year, tens of thousands of students get into relationships without knowing what they're getting into. And I'm talking about jobs here. And guess what happens when you rush into relationships? That's right, breakup. 1 in 4 graduates leave their first job within 12 months. And if you've been through a breakup before, you may know that breakups are painful. In this case, they're painful for companies because they invest millions in attracting and training graduates, and 25% of that investment basically walks out of the door within the year. But it is perhaps even more painful for students, because being stuck in a job you don't love isn't only just not fun, it may also lead to stress, to a lower self-esteem, and basically to unhappiness. But there's a second reason why it is perhaps even more painful for students. And that is because the choice for your first job is perhaps the most important choice that you'll make throughout your career. It is a first step in a professional direction. It shapes the rest of your career. So if a wrong first step may not only have short-term consequences, it can also have long-term effects. Now the question is, of course, why is this happening? Why do students just rush into jobs without knowing what they're getting into? Well, first of all, the majority of students spend less than 5 hours on researching their future employer. And you know, I understand that. Career exploration is not fun, it's not cool, it's certainly not sexy. And besides, students have way more important things to do at university, like finding out what kind of Harry Potter character they are on BuzzFeed, spending money they don't have, and of course, Netflix and chill. But with all breakups, you know what they tell you, right? It's not you. And in this case, that's partially true. It's not all the fault of students. To a large extent, it is also the fault, if I may say so, of graduate employers. Because for the last 20 to 30 years, they've been sending out generic, static, and one-way communication when it comes to job advertising, instead of engaging with prospects, with students in a meaningful conversation. And this leads to students getting a wrong or bad perception of a company, not knowing what the company culture is like, not knowing what the day-to-day work looks like, and not knowing what's expected of you. Now, on top of that, research has shown that you are only aware of about 27% of your career opportunities, of your potential employers. That means that you miss out on the majority of the companies that you could potentially work for. And that has a very simple reason. That is because smaller companies, SMEs, startups, don't have the capacity, budget, or time to go to careers fairs, to pay a lot of money to be on traditional recruitment channels. And hence, you miss out on them. So you miss out on the majority of your potential employers. And of the ones that you do happen to know, you get a bad perception of. And this may lead to a false start of your career. And that is, of course, if you spend more time on Lat Bible than on career exploration, and if you make yourself dependent of traditional recruitment channels. And this is called an information problem. You don't have all the available information, and therefore you make the wrong choice. Or to put it in economic terms, the suboptimal choice. And in a perfect world, this problem, of course, wouldn't exist. There would be a great algorithm that would just present to you that dream job at that perfect company on a silver platter. And the only thing you would have to do is grab it. And I can tell you, in the jobs market, we are rapidly moving towards this. Algorithms are getting better and better by the day. But still, even with the best algorithms, you would still have to create your own perception, create your own opinion, and make your own choice. And that, ladies and gentlemen, requires an investment that costs time. Throughout our lives, we spend more time with our colleagues than with our spouses. Yet we spend way less time on career exploration than on love exploration. We go on many dates all the time, but when do we ever reach out to someone who works at a company to ask what it's like to work for that company? So if you don't want to end up in constant bad breakups, like Bridget Jones, know what you're getting into before you apply to your first job, your second job, your third job, your 25th job for that matter. And you can turn your career into a love story. And you will work happily ever after. Thank you very much.